What a shame that even heavenly light falls to the darkness. What's up, guys? I'm Welcome here, and here we are to do a nice little discussion about how Jacob's Ladder is unironically one of the best techniques in the entire series that is rarely allowed to do anything beyond its basic plot function. Which is very unfortunate considering the unbelievable power of the technique relative to what it's actually allowed to do within the narrative, based on how it's functioned, how it's stated to function, and what it's implied to be able to do. But we have a whole lot to talk about in so little time, so let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. Editing me, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact that you open to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. So another fun fact. Did you know that Hana tends to have a certain something on her and keep it on her at all times? Yeah, a certain something that is a little bit something fancy, a little bit of a yeah, Jacob's Ladder. Here's the thing. Don't get me wrong. I know why Hana was introduced. I know why Jacob's Ladder was introduced. I know why. Because legitimately, it was introduced to solve one problem. That problem was this problem. Not that problem. This problem. The Satoru Gojo problem. The man in the box problem. It literally gets introduced by Tengen solely to free Satoru Gojo. And I will say this verbatim right here at the start to make it nice, simple, and clean, no Kingdom Hearts. It serves its specific plot function well. In terms of freeing Satoru Gojo to fall, beautiful. I do think ultimately the Jacob's Ladder utilization itself kind of gets underwhelmed by the fact that it's like this one tiny page, and then bada bing, bada boom, a lot of the rest of 221 gets dedicated to Satoru Gojo's return, obviously, but that makes sense. But ultimately, it leaves Jacob's Ladder being a technique with infinitely more potential and ability and brokenness, but once again, it's kind of just in concept or an idea rather than execution. Because here's the thing about Jacob's Ladder, right? If you were to describe it to anyone, they would undeniably put it in like top 5 in the entire verse at a bare minimum. Because what does it do? Remember, Jacob's Ladder is very specifically meant to extinguish cursed techniques. Like, that's the main thing. It's made to turn them off, literally negate them. It is a large-scale inverted spear of heaven. Because it probably legit was the source of the inverted spear of heaven or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if Angel ended up being the one who created the inverted spear of heaven. If we get that information in a data book later, someone else called it. It wasn't me. Someone else pointed that idea out to me. So it's not me, but still, the idea of Jacob's Ladder in of itself, a massive, gargantuan AoE attack that can be so big and so fast because it's literally composed of pure light, and the beams can be this large at max output, being a maximum technique. The ability to turn off any technique is crazy. Think of some of the most broken abilities in the series. Your Limitless, your Mythical Beast Ambers, your Cleaves, your Dismantles, your Domain Expand. Like, think of literally every single technique in the series that is not tied to something external or literally unable to turn off. Jacob's Ladder takes care of that. And while there are definitely arguments for Lightspeed Scaly and JJK, as we see, one of the main proprietors of the Lightspeed meta doesn't necessarily really get to do anything about it. Sukuna looks up, shields his eyes a little bit, and immediately gets blitzed and vaporized by Jacob's Ladder. And this carries over to the redraws as well for the volume. Like, he just is unable to dodge it. Bro has to resort to faking things out. But that's the big issue. Jacob's Ladder is basically unstoppable. Most characters don't necessarily have an answer to it unless they already do not have a curse technique to turn off. Like, hypothetically, Jacob's Ladder wouldn't really do anything to a Maki or a Toji. It was like, okay, I mean, you'll erase Toji's cursed spirit, which is big. That is actually big. And hypothetically, it could turn off the efficacy of Soul Split Katana because it is a curse technique imbued weapon. So that'd be a turn off the cursed tool, but like, physically it wouldn't do much. But y'all do realize that it's confirmed in 251. Let me quote Hana here. That approach should work well with our curse technique. The Angel's curse technique is destruction of a target's curse technique. In a fully fleshed curse, this is John Wary, don't blame me, but in a fully fleshed curse, the curse technique or cursed object are in direct connection with the personality, meaning it's possible to remove Sukuna, but the curse technique is enshrined by the brain, so the target's chances of survival aren't good. if we could pull the two souls apart to weaken the harmonization between the cursed object and the flesh, the chances of survival would drastically improve. So, y'all do realize this means that Jacob's Ladder, at least conceptually, victimizes a majority of the verse, including Mr. Yuji Itadori over here. Now that it's been confirmed that Yuji had his own siblings, and the fact that he was inborn with a finger and now matches a finger in terms of like just general function, he's basically a walking, talking, speaking cursed object, he's a Jacob's Ladder victim. For everyone who's saying that Yuta loses to Yuta, like, nah, bro gets atomized. In concept. In theory. Because you know what the sad thing is about Jacob's Ladder? The only time we see it work as effectively as it should, considering it is a large-scale AoE light attack that's meant to delete cursed techniques and negate them, we only see it work on a stationary box. That's not it. We only see it work on a stationary box. Something that can't actually fight back. So in concept, Jacob's Ladder is one of the most broken things because it should sound like a binary. Like, you get hit by Jacob's Ladder, you perish. You get hit by Jacob's Ladder, everything turns off. You get hit by Jacob's Ladder, you're done, son. But it seems like that's not the case. Like, notably, in every single case where we've seen it used on somebody, it doesn't really do what it's meant to do. Obviously, there's the original incarnation of it. Jacob's Ladder, when it first makes its debut back in 213, it does numbers. It does crazy numbers. Even in the redraw where Gege gives Sukuna a bit more, like, poise to getting absolutely atomized, still, he's getting absolutely atomized. He's in agony, he's in pain, and he's literally being erased. But notably, this is a Hana genuinely tweaking out, considering she just lost her boy toy, and is trying her hardest to eradicate Sukuna at Angel's request. But Sukuna not only manages to survive this first onslaught, but then proceeds to, I suppose, still in the middle of the light, considering Hana doesn't seem to shut it off immediately, manages to reach out and speak loud enough to Hana while still being atomized, I guess, and then obviously gets faked out and then thrown out, like the father she is. So Jacob's Ladder 1 doesn't achieve the immediate effect of shutting down an incarnated sorcerer, like it should be stated to according to 251 and Yuta Kotsu's application of it. And also, we see in 251 that, I mean, it, like, notably, I'll give this. We don't know about Jacob's Ladder turning off curse techniques instantly. We don't. Because in concept it should be a binary. And notably, when we see it here, we don't get to see Sukuna try and activate a technique. Because notably, the chapter itself says earlier that Sukuna was going to risk it, he was going to gamble it, as the narrator says, ending Hollow Wicker Basket and bearing the effects of the Angel's Curse technique while relying on Dismantle, the slash that cuts the world. So, Sukuna was going to try it? He was going to try to tank Hollow Wicker Basket and fire a technique at the same time, which shouldn't be possible. Like, by the way, like, it should be a binary. Like, you should not be able to use techniques, but Sukuna was convinced he could, and notably, it's hard to tell if he really could or couldn't, because Yuta turns Jacob's Ladder off. He fries Sukuna for a little bit, while Rika's still holding him, and then takes the arm off, but notably he's turned off Jacob's Ladder, so Itadori could get in, and that leads to Yuta getting hit by a full champ Dismantle. So, ultimately, the efficacy of it is in question twice, because here's the thing. If we take Jacob's Ladder purely by concept, how it's stated to work, then it's literally unstoppable. It takes characters like Yuji and instantly one-shots them. It takes characters like Sukuna, and realistically should instantly one-shot them, but you know, there's a power differential there. It takes characters like Kashimo, characters like Ryu, characters like Earl. Think of every incarnated sorcerer ever. Anybody who's possessing a vessel ever. Any cursed spirit ever, and it should be a one-shot. Hana, by herself, should be able to sneeze at all the disaster curses and immediately atomize them. Because if she hits them with this, it should instantly wipe them, right? Right? Well, we don't know. Because unfortunately, we don't get to see her use it on any cursed spirits. Even during the little time period in between, like the Sukuna twist and post-Culling games, we don't get to see her use it on cursed spirits. Because obviously, tweaking out with Jacob's Ladder on cursed spirits would be crazy, but still, we don't know. Which is really, really, really unfortunate considering the implications of the technique. If, once again, we were to just take the technique at face value, Hana should be arguably, unless you start using original incarnations of characters, like you say you're using original Sukuna, original Ryu, original Earl, original, well, you don't need Reggie, but like original incarnate sorcerers, then they should all get no diff by Jacob's Ladder. But the way Sukuna reacts to it puts that in question. Every single cursed spirit should be one-shot by Jacob's Ladder. And admittedly, this is pretty hard to tell because we know Yuta's specifically locking the domain to only target Sukuna. So while this is a massive pillar of light that should be hitting Rika as well, it's very likely that she just wasn't affected by it. So it's hard to tell if it would even one-shot cursed spirits. And with that being the case, it causes any efficacy of the technique to kind of be thrown into question. Because, like, this right here is a big determinant factor for where you place Yuta and Hana both. Because Jacob's Ladder is essentially an automatic win con, right? Especially against certain characters. Like someone like Maharaga. If it's a binary, like it's stated to be, and like it should be, then Maharaga's a joke to both of those characters. They go Jacob's Ladder and he's turned off because he's a technique. If this is the case, someone like Kashimo should be a no-diff for either of them because, once again, it's a light-based technique. And while Kashimo has light-speed attacks, it's hard to argue that he really scales to them unless you do some roundabout ways based on how Sukuna reacts to him. And then you say they maybe have light speed, but even still, Jacob's Ladder, a sure hit in Yuta's domain. And who knows, once again, Hana just flies into the sky and drops Jacob's Ladder. Kashimo should be one-shot, right? But if Sukuna is able to resist it, both while his soul is super damaged and separated from Megami, and when he first incarnates, is it really? Can Kashimo really be one-shot by it, or could he resist it? Can he tank it? For someone like Ryu Ishigori, not only should he be immediately despawned from his vessel, considering how that works, but also, he should not be able to use Granite Blast, right? But we know he can use it outside of it, so would he still be able to strike back? That's the thing. Jacob's Ladder, on paper, is so good. But it's hard to tell if it really is that good, because the one guy we get to see it used on, neither of the characters using it on him are actually, like, given the justification to actually defeat bro. Like, notably, we don't know the time frame here. We don't know. We see Sukuna pretty much immediately starts burning when being exposed to Hana's Heavenly Light, and that's just her passive presence. Then when Jacob's Ladder comes out, he immediately starts to get burned even more. But how long does this take? Remember, this is a Sukuna freshly incarnated who has his CT output dropped. Well, admittedly, he doesn't know that at this point. But still, this is a freshly incarnated Sukuna. Even Angel admits this should be the time to get rid of him, if it's possible. But he tanks it very, very well. And then, once again, when fired by Yuta Kotsu, arguably the third strongest character in the verse on an extremely weakened Sukuna, it gives him a nice little sunburn, but pretty much nothing else. Like, I really don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Because if we go with its most generous interpretation, it's arguably the best technique in the verse. It should have one of the highest attack speeds in and of itself, because it's a light-based technique. You can apply it to a domain, for Yuta's case, and probably for Angel's case as well. But if not, heck, Angel can just fly up into the air. They're like, what? 5 characters in the entire series who can actually fly, or at least do something close to flying, looking at like Maki and Toji and Sukuna and stuff like that. So it should be an automatic GG. But the question is it? That's the thing. That's the weird thing about Jacob's Ladder. It serves its plot purpose fine. It completes it to perfection. I'm not gonna knock it. It freed Satoru Gojo. Admittedly, to get Satoru Gojo, no, like, Mr. Not I win did in fact not win, but still, yeah, it freed him. It did his narrative job. But then, like, I don't know, application-wise, it's really, really funky. Because it never does what it's supposed to do. At least in my opinion. Outside of on an inanimate object, it never does what it's supposed to do, and that's what makes the technique whack. And that's unfortunate. Honestly, no, because at this point, it's weird to tell. But, once again, just to show how important this thing is, a list of characters who would get annihilated by Jacob's Ladder if it worked perfectly as it did in context, or how it's described, every incarnated sorcerer, which includes Uro, Ryu, Kashimo, Sukuna, Choso's brothers, but that don't really matter. And then anyone who has cursed objects inside them. So Yuji would also get vaporized. And his technique turned off. Yeah, that's pretty nice. Every cursed spirit ever. All the disaster curses, fought or rise. Every single curse that we ever see in the series, fought or rise. If it actually works. Now my question for you is, do you think it actually works that way? And the only reason we see it resisted twice and basically not do anything outside of inanimate objects is because it's being used on Sukuna, the strongest character in the verse. And for pretty much anyone else, it would be an instant one-shot, binary GG. Please let me know all that and more in the comment section down below. And to thank you so much for watching, please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you can not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have another Patreon below where you support me for as low as $1 a month. Now, you get things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You'll sign up become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So let's include the live reaction to the very next chapter of Jujutsu Kaisen, ad-free variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 Patreon, $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, if you want to make a one-time donation or a one-time video request, the link to my Ko-Fi is in the description down below. Now, thank you so much for watching. Once again, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Angle with a Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members: Kleiner Plays, Greyhound, Kids Void, Astro, Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, G Prosper, Paris Arnold, King Sukuna, and NMA. I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons: Steron, Sean, Owexian, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin Encarnacion, Josh Brown, John Malcolm, and Igneal Lynn. And I'd like to give another thank you to our $7 member, Autumn Mornings Lazo. And I'd like to give a big old thank you to our $10 members, Robbie Uchiha and Jay Warrior. And I'd like to give another big old thank you to our $10 patrons, Panda Goat, Joaquin Munoz, and Idemokami. And finally, I'd like to give a big, hefty gargantuan thank yous to our $25 patron, China Doll 09. I'd like to give another gargantuan toe curling slobbanaba dabba dabba thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.